Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Sexy Business Podcast. As always, I'm the kitty enjoying the sun, Lewd Neko, and with me is my co-host, Spooky Dangerous.
That's me.
And today we have another awesome interview for you all. We will be interviewing the developer of Wildwood. Welcome, Voidine. Say hello.
Hello.
Good to have you on the show. Now, before we get into actually talking about the game itself, we wanted to talk a little bit about how you sort of came into this space because you have a very interesting backstory.
Yes. For sure. I mean, I can just go into it. So yeah, I'm Voidine. I'm a game developer, the director of Wildwood. But yeah, I've been working, before working on Wildwood, I was actually in the AAA game development scene for a few years there. And so I've always wanted to do game development. And when I first kind of got into it, I never really thought that like adult games would be the avenue that I would be diving into. It just kind of happened that way. And there was a lot of things that happened in order to get there. So I went to school for game development. And I'm going to be honest, the city I'm in is not very game development focused. And I find like, especially now in hindsight, if you want to get into game development, you kind of just have to move to like one of those cities where game development is going on. So like I'm in Canada. That's like Vancouver is like the big one, or like Montreal. I'm in neither of those. So kind of right off the bat, I started like with an arm tied behind my back, and I was lucky enough to find a studio here in my hometown, and they treated me great. They were awesome to work for, and essentially I started out like fresh out of graduation with this company as a contract worker. So we were a very small company. There was like 8 of us, and we couldn't really make our own games. So instead, what they had us do is they would contract us out to larger companies to work basically like odd jobs for them as like a free set of hand, like an extra set of hands. So, they would, the pitch was they would go to some big company in like California and be like, hey, do you guys need like one guy to help you with something? How about instead of going through the process of hiring a new person and putting them on the payroll, you can get a contract from us and we'll send one of our experts, quote unquote expert. I was literally brand new in the field. I had no idea what I was doing. And they're like, we'll send an expert and, they'll get the job done for you. And so I ended up working with a few companies down in California, none of the really big ones. I think that's kind of like another thing that you learn pretty quickly in the games industry is, especially starting out, you don't really get to work on any of the cool games unless you get like very lucky. You're working on a lot of weird crap. So like I worked on a VR shooting game for a while. I did like the UI programming for that. The company I worked for treated me great. The company in California treated me horribly. They were like super demanding of me. They would like go behind my back and talk to my bosses and be like, hey, this guy, like, we're not happy with his work. We need him to work better and we need to work faster. And I'm lucky that I had good bosses because they would relay that information all back to me. And they're like, these guys are bullshitting us. We know you're doing a good job. We know you're killing it there. Don't worry about this. Like, okay, that's cool. So I did that job for about 6 months. And then I got set up with another company in California working on a huge game, and I did that for about 2 years. And again, they just kind of like threw me wherever they needed me. So I did some UI programming for a while. I did some AI programming, like programming like animal AI, which was interesting. And then I mainly focus on design, like that's kind of what I do in game development. And so finally they got me into a design role. I got to design a big puzzle for the game's like flagship mission, or one of the flagship missions. And this game was planned out to be like a super massive, like AAA action adventure multiplayer game. Like it was going to be huge. And so I worked on it for 2 years. And overall, the team there like treated me decently. But it's all remote work, so it's very like isolating, especially when you're like the only person from your company on the team. Like nobody else from the company here in my hometown. They were all just working on other projects. So it was just me working at home every day with all these strangers in California speaking over Zoom, which was weird, but got the job done. Things were going well. And then literally randomly out of nowhere, the company that I was contracted to, it was a new week. They were handing out assignments. they gave me an impossible assignment, like literally something that isn't fit, like we weren't able to do in the engine. They didn't know it when they assigned it to me. I didn't know it when they assigned it to me. And so
Oh,
I went ahead and basically spent a week like banging my head against the keyboard trying to get it to work. And it took me a week before I realized, oh, this actually like physically isn't possible. So I
no.
relayed that information back to the company. I was like, "Hey, you guys actually gave me an impossible task. I wasn't able to do it the way you guys wanted me to. That being said, I talked to some other developers and found a solution that basically works, like, and does what you want it to do. So here you go. Here's the solution." And then that company went behind my back to my bosses and explained that they accused me of time theft and said that I wasted a week of their I wasted a week of their time working on an impossible task, and they basically fired me on the spot.
Oh,
And
Corporate, let's fucking
my
go.
yeah, yeah. So that was crazy. It literally happened like overnight. My company was not prepared for that, and they were already like, it's a small company here in the city that I'm in, which is not very well known for game development. So they're already like kind of on the rocks, investment wise, and so they didn't have another project set up for me. So I got fired, and they're basically like, "We can't afford you. We have to let you go. We have to lay you off." So that really sucked. And after getting laid off, I really, really struggled to find another job in the industry to really get back in it. Because again, I'm a guy who has a couple years of experience at this point, but it's very like sporadic. It's kind of all over the place. I didn't specialize in
yeah.
one thing. It's like, oh, I did some design, I did some programming, I did some art even. And it's like nobody in the industry is really looking for that. And I'm in a city where there isn't really a lot of like active game development jobs. And so I basically had to like come up with a game plan, and that game plan was, okay, I've got to like look into doing independent development. So the nice part about that was that I literally I got a brand new like fresh super fancy computer from the company I worked for. They bought it for me literally like a week before I got laid off, and I think like I assumed they were gonna ask for it back. They never did. I'm guessing they viewed it as maybe
Yay.
like a severance package for
Severance.
getting laid, but
Huge.
I got to keep it. And so this thing was a monster, and I was like, okay, I can download all the engines, I can get this stuff all set up, and I can just work. And so I started assessing projects that I was interested in, stuff I wanted to do. And at the time, I had been really getting into like visual novels, and specifically, I was like, a lot of my game ideas come from taking a game I like and being like, what did I not like about that? If I were
Mm.
my own version of that, how would I try to like improve on it? And so I've been playing a lot of VNs, and I had a lot of ideas, and I'm like, oh man, if I made my own VN, I would do this instead of this, and I would improve on this and improve. And so I started kind of juggling like multiple different projects. The visual novel wasn't the only one. This visual novel ended up becoming Wildwood, I guess I should say. But Wildwood wasn't the only project. I had a couple other projects that I was also working on that were less NSFW, more kind of public facing. And I kind of juggled all of these for a while, figuring them out, making prototypes, writing stuff down, like just planning them all out. And it's funny because I didn't anticipate it. The visual novel actually started as like the project I cared about the least. I was like, this is a like, I guess for lack of a better term, I viewed it as kind of like a get rich quick scheme. I don't think it was necessarily like that exactly, but it was basically like, I'm gonna make like some kind of low hanging fruit, like click here for boobs type of game. I'm gonna make my bag, and then I'm gonna like,
Wait, where? Click where?
yeah, exactly. But I was like, that was kind of how I viewed it at first. But then as all the projects started coming along together and I was prototyping and I was writing stuff down, the visual novel ended up being the one that I was getting the most invested in. Like, I started actually planning the characters and writing the story, and I'm like, wait, I'm having a lot of fun with this. I'm really enjoying these characters. I'm really enjoying this setup. And the other thing was like the engine I was using, and like it was kind of the project that was like going the best. I was like not running into as many issues as the other ones, because the other ones were like an Unreal Engine and Unity. Like I was trying out all these different engines, but like RenPy, the visual novel engine, is so like
Yeah.
quick and easy to work with. And Python was like the first language I learned when I was in school, so I just like kind of got it right away. And so yeah, it just kind of like naturally over the course of those months where I was prototyping all those games, I kind of lost interest in all the other ones. and Wildwood kind of came up to the top as like the one project I wanted to work on the most out of all of them. And now at this point, it's kind of the only one I care about. Like I've kind of like really put all those other ones on the back burner because I just have so much fun working on Wildwood, and I care about it so much more than all the other projects.
First of all, hell yeah, Renpai. I'm on the same thing, but my coding skills are cheeks. So I'm interested to see how differently you take that. But I've been working on a safe for work project that's probably not going to ever get revealed, where we went really, really hard on mini games and like management sim stuff and all these other kind of categories and shit. And there's like 15,000 lines of code that's just like gardening or some bullshit. Or like in Sleep Shock, we made a hidden movement game where like you're clicking on a space and it's telling you how far away it is from where the actual object is. And there's like a lot of board games that kind of run like that as well. So
cool.
I'm curious how deep you ever feel like you want to go for that kind of thing with Renpai versus another engine, or if you're just way more invested in the story and it's more about like routing and character development and storytelling for you.
Yeah, so that's a really good question because originally Wildwood was going to be like a full simulator game. Like I basically wanted it to be like game first, visual novel second. I had all these plans written down. I had like concept art and everything figured out that it was going to be like full management style game where you like ran the inn and tavern. That's what Wildwood is. It's the inn and tavern in the game that you live in. You were going to run that tavern, and so the time was going to kind of be split into days, and you were going to have like a bartending mini game where you made drinks for guests, and then you would have like an in management style game where you got to like clean rooms and send people to do stuff and all that. And like I had all these like really lofty goals and ideas for it, and so much so I actually had a friend of mine that I went to university with. We both did computer science. I brought him along because he was a way better programmer than I was. I was like the design stuff. He was a way better programmer. I was going to get him to like help me figure out all these games and get them all down. And actually like deep in the code of Wildwood, there is still like a bunch of prototypes for that stuff, just like completely lying dormant because what ended up happening. Yeah, exactly. What ended up happening was I made a demo for the game that was basically like an hour of gameplay. It's actually like what's currently available right now online is still this like hour-long demo. And the original version of the demo basically had like a little part where like I would show up, like my character here, and he'd be like, hey, there's going to be a mini game at this part, but programming is hard, so I haven't made it yet, but here's what it's going to look like. Let me know what you think. And
That's
people
nice.
did let me know what they think. And they told me that they did not want it at all.
That's
the
so
overwhelming the overwhelming amount of feedback I got was, God, please, no mini games, please, no. And so that, and like the game was still like very small at that point. Like I say it was overwhelming, but this was like maybe 15 people on like a forum where like, please no mini games. But I think at that point, like I'd already kind of subconsciously like didn't really want to do the mini games in the first place, especially as I started getting more invested in like the story I was writing and the characters I was creating. Because the game was also originally going to be a sandbox. Like it was going to be like, oh, you can complete all this stuff in different orders and you can go talk to whoever you want. But as I built the story, I was like, this kind of works better if it all just kind of happens in sequential order and the player can like make choices to skip specific parts.
So you started out with all these dreams, all these skills to make this gigantic, really immersive thing, and then everyone was like, no, just make a book. And so now you have a
Linear
picture book.
pretty much, but at the same time, that's kind of how like all of game development goes, I find. Like regardless of the game you're making, you always get all of these like lofty goals and crazy ideas, and you're like, I'm gonna make the next Elden Ring, you know? And then you actually start working on it, and especially as like a new developer, it's almost always better for you to like start simple, and then get the ball rolling, because you can always start with something simple and then make it more complicated down the road. It's a lot harder to like start with something that's complicated and then like simplify it if people don't like it.
Or show a demo, because if it's really complicated, it's hard to have an incomplete version for people to play. Our latest project has that problem where it's fully non-linear, and it means that for you to play it in any incomplete state, it just doesn't work. So I'm like,
Yeah.
look, we're working on this, and it comes out when it comes out, I'm sorry to say. Whereas everything else is we do monthly updates. So it's much more, yes, here's a new chapter, yes, here's new art, here's the new scene. And so the workflow is really straightforward and it's really easy to follow along. But with Creature of Casterfield, it's just like, yeah, I wrote like 40 medical documents and we uploaded like 20 birth certificates to the game or whatever. And people were like, I don't know what that means.
Oh man, yeah, no, well, exactly, and that's the other thing is I was looking at Wildwood in terms of like longevity and in terms of like figuring out a schedule, like a development schedule that worked for me, and I ran into that exact same problem where I'm like, if this is a sandbox, then I need to like I'm gonna have to actively choose every single month, basically like what part of the sandbox I'm working on. And that comes at a cost of like other parts of the sandbox, especially if you want the player to be able to like do all of this stuff, at their own pace, however they want. That becomes very difficult when you're only able to release like one specific aspect of that sandbox a month.
Yeah, and they're bumping
And
up against
so,
walls and stuff as they play through.
yeah. And so the like moving Wildwood into a more like kind of sequential, like traditional visual novel, especially as like a first project, I think ended up being very. I ended up being very happy with it in the long run.
Now, we haven't actually talked about like what Wildwood is. I mean, you mentioned that it's like,
Yeah.
based around this tavern/inn. So do you want to give us sort of a little summary of what you have so far and some of the girls we might get to meet in Wildwood?
Yes, of course. So Wildwood, yes, it's. I guess I should start by saying that it's an isekai. So I mentioned earlier that a lot of my games start with like based off of things that I liked, but trying to address the stuff I didn't like about that stuff. So I hate isekais. I like I actually I really don't like isekais. I find that
True
so
king.
many I find that so many isekais like kind of squander the potential that like that the premise is being someone who's like a complete stranger to this new world. It almost always devolves into like fantasy fulfillment. And like fantasy fulfillment is fine, but it's always like very like simple and like lowbrow fantasy development. I don't know. Maybe I'm not watching the good isekais. I haven't watched a lot. I've heard there's
Very
like good ones
directed
out
towards
there.
like 12-year-old boys in a way that you can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. But a lot of it is very shonen harem fan servicey as a genre.
Yes.
So they're really not doing high art and storytelling. And it is just such
Yeah.
a once upon a time story device just to, okay, you, the real person in the real world, can insert as this character because you know the same things. And then they
Yes.
get to ask you, the audience, the questions about what's in the fantasy universe. And it's just easy. Rather than lazy, it's just very easy. Then easy for the audience to connect and start following along. So absolutely 12-year-old boys kind of media.
Yes. Well, and that's exactly it. And so I really didn't like that. And then one specific issue I had with like, and I don't want to like throw shade at VNs out because I think there's a ton of so many good VNs, and even some of the ones that I have issues with, I still think are overall like great games. But one big issue and one kind of like running theme I found with visual novels, especially ones that are intended for like male audiences, is that the main character is always some like chosen one that's like destined for greatness, and
Cool
that's kind of
guy.
yeah, exactly. And it's just like, oh, all of these like it's like a chosen one that's like surrounded by supermodels, and there's just like weirdly no other male characters ever anywhere. Oddly enough. And so that was another thing that I kind of wanted to address, I guess for lack of a better term, with Wildwood. Is like I want to take isekai, something I don't like, and make it something that I do like, and then I want to throw in this kind of like chosen one narrative, but like address it in a way that's like more interesting to me. And so what Wildwood ends up being is it's an isekai where you're a completely ordinary man that surrounds himself with extraordinary women.
Okay.
Is like the best way to put it.
Okay.
And
Female-led relationship, got it.
well, and that's exactly it. Like I really wanted, and I wanted a game that like really emphasizes kind of like the connect, like you don't have to be a chosen one to like have an interesting story. I think that's another like big thing that really bothers me with like chosen one narratives. It's always like you're what's the best way to put it? It's the way that I always think about it is like I'm not a big Star Wars guy, but I see it always mentioned with Star Wars that's like the recent like movies, they're like, oh, the Skywalkers all use the Force, but like they're all Force sensitive, and in order to be like someone who's Force sensitive, you got to be related to that family. But it's like the whole point of that originally was that like anybody can do it, anybody can be special. You don't have to be a chosen one, and I think that's kind of the like thesis, for lack of a better term, of Wildwood. That's like you don't have to be a special person to like make an effect, leave an effect on people's lives. You can be a friend, you can be supportive, you can be a completely ordinary person and help uplift, other extraordinary people. And in doing that, you yourself become equally as extraordinary. For lack of a better term, I'm getting like very high scale here, but essentially, Wildwood is an isekai where you're surrounded by a bunch of women that are way more interesting than you are, and basically you get thrust into a fantasy comedy romance story with these girls, and you help them through their trials and tribulations and kind of what they've all got different things going on, and it's up to you to kind of like, or not up to you, but you're there to be their support, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
Sorry, I keep saying for lack of a better term.
I'm curious to get your take on something, because in saying this, I realized that Sleeve Shock is, you could say, is an isekai, because the main character dies at the beginning, off screen, sort of, and then loads into a backup sleeve, which is the wrong person, and that's kind of the whole premise for the story, right? Except the difference is that the main character is not a chosen one, and everyone's kind of just mad at them, and everyone just kind of thinks they're shit. And then the redemption of the main characters is they becoming closer to who they truly were supposed to be, or who they were before, and stuff like that throughout the rest of the game. Which I realize kind of fit exactly your criteria. I was waiting for you to be like, I really hate this kind of visual novel, and then just describe the shit that I make. So
No.
I think I passed just barely.
No, you absolutely do. That sounds great. No, you don't. No, not barely. That's like totally like we can. I don't hate isekai as a whole. I hate poorly executed ones, and yours does not sound like that at all.
Yes.
Like that sounds super interesting. That sounds awesome. And again, that ties into a lot of Wildwood as well, because that's the other thing, a lot of like isekais, especially the ones aimed at like 12-year-old boys, is like, you're this character, you show up, you're a chosen one, and immediately you're like fighting demon lords and kissing
and the harem
women
forms.
and being a badass. But like Wildwood, like you literally, you show up, you're naked, you have nothing on you, you get your ass handed to you by a woman, and then you're forced to basically like work a 9 to 5 in order to like continue existing in this new world. Like you don't get a sword, you don't get any special powers. You basically just like it's honestly kind of a shitty deal when you first get there. And that was also kind of the point of Wildwood, that it's like I want the player to start from nothing and show that's like, hey, sometimes you just got to make the best out of the situation you're dealt with, and good things may come of that. But yeah, I can talk about, you mentioned like some of the waifus in the game.
Hell yes,
I can talk about some of them. That being said, a lot of Wildwood and its story plot threads are very interwoven with kind of like the details of characters and special it's very interwoven. Like there's a lot of like plot twists that come from details that characters keep hidden, specifically the women. What I will say is that pretty much every love interest in the game has a connection of sorts to something magical or supernatural, or really anything along that. I'm a huge Monster Girl enjoyer.
Hell yeah.
Yes, base.
Huge Monster Girl enjoyer. Unfortunately, the engine I'm using kind of makes, creating Monster Girls more difficult than it should be. And so my way around that is to kind of make like girls that appear, like just like a standard human on the outside, but then as you learn about them and as you get to know them, and maybe as they learn about themselves, maybe they're not even aware of it, they realize that they have kind of these more monstrous or supernatural qualities.
It was the monsters we made along the way.
Yes, exactly. So for instance, I have one girl who I shall not name because I don't want to completely spoil the surprise, but one girl, her entire plot point throughout the game is kind of like realizing that she's half succubus.
Huge.
Ooh.
And it's something that like she doesn't immediately know and no one else really knows, and it's something that she discovers as the game progresses, and it almost becomes kind of like a reverse romance route where you like, because she's a very like flirty character and very forward with the protagonist, as long as you make the right choices, of course. um, and it becomes kind of a reverse romance route in a way, because she starts very forward and you get very intimate very quickly, but then she realizes she's a succubus and she's kind of like, oh my god, I don't want to kill this guy that I'm like into. And it becomes this kind of duality that's like, man, like I want to be intimate, I want to be close, but I can't because I'm a succubus. I will literally kill him, and that becomes kind of the dynamic between you and this girl. That's it's like, how far are you willing to go, before you get your soul sucked out of you for like. And then finding out ways to deal with that, and her kind of like coming to terms with being a succubus and maybe what can be done to change that, and that kind of stuff. So that's like one of the characters I've been like really happy with, that I've been writing and has been coming along very well. There's another girl that is, I mean, I can say her name, Rosaria. She's going to be appearing in the next update, which should be out next month, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Hell yeah.
She's the like certified rich bitch, like badass, kind of like doesn't take shit from no one, super snobby girl. And so I also like, I have a soft spot for monster girls. I also have a soft spot for like bitchy rich girls.
Yeah, Hime types. I love Himes.
Yes, exactly. And so she is that for Wildwood, and her story is one that's kind of based on expectations and reputation. You get to meet her in the next update and kind of talk to her. And before you do, you hear all these rumors because she is the richest woman in the city. Everybody knows her. Everybody has an opinion on her. And you hear all these opinions, but then you actually meet her and you're like, is like the what I've heard doesn't necessarily match what I'm seeing, but at the same time, she's a manipulator. She knows how to get what she wants. And it's kind of this duality of like, is she being real with me right now, or am I being led into a trap? And that's kind of the first sort of roadblock that you reach with this character. And the first kind of like arc of this relationship is figuring out how to get around that, and figuring out if this is the real Rosaria or if this is a front she's putting on. And if it is, what is the real Rosaria like? And so she's been really fun to write. Honestly, I think she's probably my favorite character so far. Not to be biased, but she's been very, very fun to write.
Hell yeah.
And I'm really excited for this update.
Yes, I've been working on this update for legitimately a year. It's been a long time coming. I released the demo for Wildwood like last February, I believe, 2025. And I didn't intend for this update to take a year, but life kind of hits you in weird ways sometimes. Yeah. And so I have been working steadily on the update since then, but some weeks are good, some weeks are bad. I've been jumping in and out of jobs IRL. I did briefly get with another game studio as a level designer for a couple of months in late 2025, but of course, after 6 months, I got laid off because they physically could not afford me anymore. So it's been jumping through a lot of jobs, and that's definitely like kind of taken it's led to Wildwood taking a lot longer to develop than I would like. But with the next update coming out, which again will hopefully be May, I'm on pretty on track now at this point. I have a plan to kind of release like semi-monthly updates. I don't know if it's exactly going to be monthly. It might be like every 2 or 3 months, but I've written it down. I've explained it all to my fans. Like, here's exactly what you're going to expect. And I feel very confident that I'm going to be able to hold on to that. So, like, I'm planning to release this demo. It's going to be big. It's going to kind of get the ball rolling. Or not the demo. I'm going to release the next update. It's going to be big. It's going to get the ball rolling. And then I just want to, like, keep that ball rolling as we go.
Momentum going.
I have so much, like, story to tell at this point and so many characters. I've been, like, I was going over the script the other day. I have a proofreader now, and he was going over it. I'm like, I wrote this script a year ago. Like, I've been sitting on these story plots for so long, and I just want to, like, move on and tell the story, and, like, I want to talk to people about this, because I've been holding on to so many details that I can't tell anyone.
Yeah, I feel you. I have my very, very first visual novel was, like, a Sailor Moon fanfiction that got abandoned.
Oh!
And there's 8 main girl characters, and they all go through this, like, superhero transformation type thing, and I had this huge, long running arcs for all of them and like what they all end up like and all this kind of stuff. We only get to see like the first third, and so I've just had a chance to tell some of the fans what the vibes kind of were, but like no actual way to conceptualize the thing into the product. And it just sits with you forever. Like these are just people that you knew once upon a time, and then maybe if you're lucky, it gets to come back in some way or form. But actually working on it, actually getting the updates and stuff out is really good. Especially if you've been away for a while. I've been fortunate where I can keep that tempo kind of constantly, and we are always working on stuff. We're always keeping it going. Even if we've had artists come in and out, we're still able to guarantee that monthly update. We haven't missed yet, which is
sweet. That's
cool.
that's super. And honestly, consistency is key.
Yeah.
My updates, this update has been taking a very long time, but the one thing that I'm very proud of is that I do post like weekly devlogs every single week, and I've done it since the original demo release. So it's been over a year now that every Wednesday is dubbed Wildwood Wednesday, and I post a devlog every single week along with a silly render of my character here talking. And I talk about what's been done, and again, sometimes there's good weeks, sometimes there's bad weeks, but there's always at least a little bit of progress, and I'm just very happy that I've been able to upload one of those updates every single Wednesday for the last year and a couple months now, I guess, at this point, because I'm still doing them every Wednesday. I'm getting ready to post my next one in a couple days here.
Hell yeah. All right, now that we are kind of at the close of the episode, we have one last job for you. Neko, do you want to give them the details?
Tell us, who is your favorite husbando and or waifu?
Ooh, that is a tough one. You guys warned me about this before we started, and I said I would think about it, and I feel like I still got to think about it. But what I will say is, in terms of husbandos, I mean, I might have a bit of a weird one, but there's a character that I enjoy like cosplaying a lot when I go to events, and I would consider him my husbando. That's Alan Wake.
Oh, huge.
Oh, that is hilarious.
Which is maybe a strange answer, but I love Alan Wake. I'm a big Twin Peaks fan, and he's like Agent Dale Cooper with like a little bit more
a little more sauce.
Yeah. He's great. I learned the whole like dance from the second game. I do that in cosplay. And I think at the last anime convention I was at, I found this artist who it was the only artist who's doing Alan Wake art, and she made this like poster that was like Alan Wake as a magical girl with his lamp. And so I got that. So I'd say that's definitely like number one husbando for me at the moment. Love that guy.
Oh yeah.
And waifu?
Waifu, oh, that's also tough. I mean, you know what? I'm maybe a little biased because we recently got married in Tomodachi Life. Not that I really had anything to do with that; it just kind of like happened. But Perona from One Piece.
Okay, seems good.
Yeah, I thought she'd be a fun
things are going pretty well with you two now that you're married.
Yeah, exactly. We got married. We live in the same building together with Mina from Deadlock. Gold Ship from Uma Musume, and the Defect from Slay the Spire. We all live together in one house, and it's great. They're the best roommates ever. And yes, we went. I think we went to Japan for the honeymoon. I think is what it was.
Huge. I have a new answer for my husbando and or waifu, because Marriage Toxin has given us both a fantastic husbando and the perfect waifu. So I'm definitely recommending that one as a watch. Neko, do you have any new husbandos or waifus? We haven't done a waifu episode in a while.
I mean, I don't even know. I mean, Straight is like my forever husbando.
Yeah.
I mean, Spamton's one of my weird ones.
Nice, great choice.
No waifus? No bitches?
I mean, I guess in my Tomodachi Life, mine right now. My island is primarily men, but I have Princess Luna for My Little Ponies.
Like, oh yeah,
yes.
I have a ton of merch of her.
Amazing.
Oh yeah.
Foreshadowing. Anyway,
very best girl.
I'm not going to get into the pony debate. I'll save that for another time. I have strong opinions about ponies.
That's fair. That's fair.
But that is our close. Do you want to tell everyone where they can find you, where they can find Wildwood?
Yeah, Wildwood is available on itch, completely free to play, will always be free to play. Go check it out on itch.io. I'm Voidine. You can find me as Voidine on itch.io as well. And the game is just Wildwood. I believe if you look up Wildwood game Voidine, it should be the first result. I've tested that a couple times. Other than that, I try to keep pretty low key on the social medias. I am on Discord. Feel free to join the Wildwood Discord server. It's pretty dead right now. Maybe you can be the one to make it a live server. You can find that on my itch.io page as well. And yeah, feel free to message me or add me as a friend. I'm always like, there's one fan. Shout out to this guy. He always like messages me about the game and talks about how excited he is. He is the goat. He like honestly, that's like he's one of the main reasons that keeps me motivated to keep working on this game. So I love talking about Wildwood. If you've ever got questions or stuff, just reach out. But Discord and itch, those are like the big ones to reach out for. Oh, and Patreon. If you like what you play and feel like supporting me, then feel free to do so on Patreon. I currently have one Patreon subscriber, and it is my uncle. So that would be cool.
Amazing.
If I got more.
All right, surely we can help fix that one for you, get some more people on there, and get people supporting the development of Wildwood, so we can see some of these stories come to life.
Yeah.
Some of these characters.
Look forward to the next update coming out May. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Actually, Wednesday I will have the exact release date, so look forward to that Wildwood Wednesday.
Huge. All right, Neko, do you want to read the outro script?
Alrighty, well, you've watched another whole episode of the Sexy Business Podcast, which means you probably like us a whole lot. So you should make sure that you're subscribed to us and click that bell so you get notifications, because we upload new episodes every single week. And if you don't have notifications enabled, you probably will not see us in your feed because we talk about naughty stuff. Also, give us a like and feel free to leave a comment down below. Maybe go check out Wildwood and let us know what you think. Or if you've heard of it before, let us know some of your thoughts. We do also appreciate any suggestions. So if you have a game that's been really interesting lately, an artist you love, a voice actor, a VTuber, really anything, as long as they're somewhat vaguely involved in the lewd space, we would love to have them on the show. And we do appreciate receiving those kinds of suggestions. But that will be it for this episode of the Sexy Business Podcast. Thanks again, Voidine, for coming on the show, and we will see you all next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.